Now, my colleagues like to point out the costs of the House Democratic bill to provide another round of emergency relief. Republican leadership has taken time to assail parts of the Democratic bill that account for 0.0003% of the bill. They're not expected to like every single piece, but they are expected by the American people to act, and mark my words, the American people will force them to act. There are so many costs to inaction, and none other than the Republican-appointed chairman of the Federal Reserve is saying that those costs are likely greater than costs of any relief bill. When will our Republican Senate colleagues start to get the message? Because looking at the floor of the United States Senate, you'd never guess that we are in the middle of a national economic crisis. For 3 weeks, Leader McConnell has not scheduled any legislative business related to the coronavirus. Senate Republican leadership is not even discussing their response to COVID-4 in the House. Instead, this week, the Republican leader has scheduled 5 right-wing judges for the floor of the Senate. The Republican chairman of the Homeland Security Committee will hold a hearing tomorrow designed to slander the family of the president's political opponent, delving into a Kremlin-concocted conspiracy theory that has no truth and fell over like a dud in the impeachment hearing. And last night, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee announced that his committee will soon consider subpoenas related to another conspiracy theory pushed by President Trump, this time to try and rewrite the history of Russian interference in the 2016 election to match the fantasy in President Trump's head. And what does Leader McConnell devote most of his floor remarks to today? That wild conspiracy theory aimed at somehow smearing the fine reputation that President Obama has well deserved. It's amazing. That was the bulk of the speech. Leader McConnell, stop listening to President Trump and his wild theories and listen to the American people. We need action. We need action now. Every day, every week, and now almost every month, we wait. The recession gets deeper and worse. More people are unemployed. More people lose their jobs. More small businesses are in jeopardy. And we're talking about some wild theory because President Trump 2 days demanded it, when everyone knows the president's penchant for truth is at a bare minimum, as exemplified by his hydroxychloroquine comments last night. Wow. This is unbelievable. In the midst of historic unemployment and economic and health tragedy, Senate Republicans are using their majority to simply block and tackle for the president's re-election campaign. Senate Republicans are using their majority not to tackle the COVID crisis, but to block and tackle for the president's re-election campaign. In the midst of a public health crisis, Senate Republicans are diving headfirst into the muck to smear the family of the president's political opponent. It's such a gross misuse of the power of the majority. We were sent here to do the nation's business. At the moment, that means helping our constituents through a time of immense challenge and large hardship. But Senate Republicans are using their committees to hold fishing expeditions dictated by the president's Twitter feed, which even his supporters don't usually believe. If anyone doubts this is about politics, if this is about Senate Republicans doing the bidding of President Trump's personal political agenda, just remember what House Minority Leader McCarthy said before the last presidential election. Leader McCarthy went on Fox News and bragged the Republicans put together a Benghazi Select Committee to bring Hillary Clinton's poll numbers down. And now Senate Republicans are using the same playbook to smear President Trump's political opponents once again. It will not work. The American people know there's a crisis. They know that the Republicans are doing nothing right now. They know that this is political folderol to please President Trump but not solve America's problems. And rightfully, many Americans are just furious. Senate Republicans using their majority to pursue the president's political agenda in a time of national crisis. The president is tweeting insane conspiracy theories, demanding that his water carriers on Capitol Hill make them look legitimate. Instead of focusing on testing capacity and policies to safely reopen our country to help the so many individuals and businesses that are in need, the president is telling the press that he's taken an unproven treatment, hydroxychloroquine, for a disease he doesn't have. And that is reckless. Please, citizens of America, don't take hydroxychloroquine as a prevention for COVID. It is not. Medical experts have said it is not. Remember, it is risky. The FDA has said it has risks. This is a medicine that experts say at best may not be effective in treating or preventing COVID-19, and at worst causes serious heart problems in patients with certain conditions. It's astonishingly reckless. I don't know why the president did it. Maybe he has family or friends who stand to benefit from the popularity of this drug. It wouldn't be unlike the president that someone called him and said, this is a great drug, a friend of his, and he just talks about it. He has no penchant for research or science or even truth. Just pops into his head. He thinks it sounds good. He thinks it's a diversion from his failures, which are so many, in dealing with COVID. So he just says it. He doesn't care if it hurts people. But I do know this. If President Trump was focused on testing, or the production of PPP, or the fashioning of a careful plan to reopen the country, instead of pushing quack medicines and inventing new conspiracies, the country would be in far better shape than it is today. And the country knows it. The majority of Americans don't trust the president to handle this crisis. And Senate Republicans just say how high when he says jump, no matter how off base, false, or unrelated to COVID his theories are.